Yeah, nothing's completely definitive yet, but my understanding is, in talking with our trainer and the doctors, is that it wasn't as bad as initially feared right after the game, that there is the type of damage that's done sometimes in that kind of an action, what happens to the ankle, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. It's a little cleaner than they thought, based on the MRI. He's going to be involved with Dr. Anderson down there in Carolina, Charlotte here next few days, and that we'll know more, but there might be an outside chance he could get back at some point in time. So we'll just have to see how that goes, though, and I don't want to say that's definitive by any stretch, but there is some optimism.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not
chatting about Mark Andrews, and remember when we had Dr. David Chow on Friday, he suggested something similar, but then the reports that came out about the injury made it seem like, yeah, okay, that's not going to be the case. Well, John Harbaugh is now, giving us some of that 1 in a million talk. Might end up with Mary Samsonite. I'm not saying it's what happened to all that 1 in a million talk. Griffin doesn't register for him whatsoever. That's what I expected. I'm not angry about it at all. When was the last time we did a movie review?
It's a good question. I guess I need to. I should.
When was the last one?
Got a long
list?
break here. I should be able to. Check one out this weekend.
Do you not have? You don't have anything else going on?
You
work a bunch of jobs.
I do work a bunch of jobs, but I should have time to catch up on a good old movie review.
All right. Well, is Dumb and Dumber not on? Have we never talked about Dumb and
No,
Dumber?
I have watched Dumb and Dumber, but I
totally
guess it's been I missed. I just missed that one. Sorry.
Slappy, Samsonite. I knew it started with an S though. What happened to all that 1 in a million talk?
I think we said Big Lebowski should be next.
It's not as slapstick. It's much more higher brow than some of the ones that we've had on the list. I don't know.
40-Year-Old Virgin. I have not seen that.
That's just weird.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird. It's not. Look, 40-Year-Old Virgin's great. It's not as good as some of the films that we've had on the list, but it's great. You definitely should watch 40-Year-Old Virgin if you never watched 40-Year-Old Virgin. What else was on the list?
Office Space.
You ever watched Office Space?
No.
You gotta talk to your parents at some point.
I haven't watched Something About Mary yet.
Okay, yeah. You know what? Let's move that one.
Okay.
That should be next.
All right.
Here's, you know what? It's Thanksgiving weekend.
It is a good.
Have you ever watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, we're good then. I don't know. I never know with you, dude. I never know. You know, have you ever watched Just Friends?
No.
I love Just Friends. It's a Christmas film. And Ryan Reynolds and Amy Smart just reunited to do a commercial that was based on it. It was wonderful. I like that one a good bit. We could talk about that. It's not as good as some of these. It's not as important. It's campier, but it's still wonderful nonetheless. It's a wonderful, wonderful. When Jamie smiles. All right, anyway. Hi, it's Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. We got a lot to do today. Coming up in a few minutes, our friend Bill Rhoden. Morgan's own and longtime sports writer now with ESPN's Andscape portal will join us. He was in town to watch Ravens-Bengals last Thursday, wrote about Lamar. We'll chat with Bill Rhoden in a few minutes later on this hour. CountySports.Zone Radio, big weekend last weekend, the MIAA championships, another weekend in the public school football playoffs. We are getting a little bit closer to the state championships in Annapolis. We will chat with Wes Brown from County Sports Zone about what's ahead. Also, the soccer titles, the state soccer titles were crowned over the weekend as well, so we will talk about that. Oh, also coming up this morning, our weekly conversation with Patrick Stevens, because we have to. And not because there's anything good to talk about. There sure as hell ain't. Nothing good at all to be discussed. But college basketball season's happening, so we might as well talk about it, I guess.
Other good college basketball.
Like what?
Well,
like what?
Yeah, outside.
Oh, you mean outside of this area?
Yeah, outside of the state.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I thought you were gonna be like,
no, yeah, there's no silver lining.
It's really not. It's bad. Long season though.
Yes.
Long season. You never know what might change.
Turn it on. They're waiting for conference play.
Sure. PressBox's Joe Serpico joins us to preview Waiver-Wire Wednesday. How hard are you going for Isaiah Likely? Are you sneaking in a claim for Charlie Kohler just in case? He's really the guy that takes on more of the role. I don't know.
I want Odell where he's available.
Is Odell available?
Yeah.
Where?
In some leagues.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
probably not ours.
There was somebody that he had on his list again this week that I was like, what league is this? In what league is this person available?
Justin Fields is available in one of my leagues. So
well, I mean, I kind of. That's probably somebody who had to release him because, he was hurt for a while and didn't have that. I can sort of understand that. And I will tell you as a Justin Fields owner, you'll never feel comfortable. You'll never say, I'm excited about Justin Fields being my quarterback this week. That day will never occur. But, good luck to you. Anyway, we'll talk about all of it with Joe Serpico later. Plus, Will Harbour, Navy linebacker, will join us a little bit later on as well as they get ready for SMU, a game that they need to win in order to get bowl eligible, which is just so stupid. Hi, Glenn Clark. You may know me from Glenn Clark Radio. You may know me from 105.7 The Fan, perhaps Loyola, ESPN Plus, Stevenson University, NLSE, St. Francis, any location. Perhaps you live with me. I don't know.
Tyus Bowser Show.
The Tyus Bowser program, which returns tonight.
Ooh.
With a special guest that I don't know yet. If I did, I promise I would tell you. Please stop asking. When I know, I tell you. We don't sit on it normally unless there's a reason. We will be back tonight. We will be, of course, in Timonium at Mother's North Grill. We hope to see you tonight starting at 7. Tyus and a special guest join us with the Tyus Bowser Show, a partnership of PressBox and Grade 8's memorabilia. Brought to you by Superbook Sports, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, and AJ Michaels. We will see you this evening. So, I'm Glenn Clark, and the fact that Navy, if they were to lose on Saturday at SMU, and by the way, SMU is really good, right? So, it's going to be tough. But if they were to lose, that would mean they would just not be bowl eligible when they could beat Army and win 6 games. Is stupid. Now the response back, the retort is, well, it's their choice that they, have the Army game a week after the bowls are set. It's not the bowl's fault. Here's what I know. Someone is going to end up making a bowl game that's going to be 5-7. They never are anymore. They're never going to be enough spots to be filled by 5 and 6 teams. And I get it. You say, well, academic progress rate, that's why the NCAA incentivized teams. How about you incentivize the fact that they're the Naval Academy? How about that? The Naval Academy. They're serving our country. Maybe we incentivize that at some point. Just me. I'm saying this. I have no association. I want to make it abundantly clear. Not whatsoever. But it just seems like perhaps if there was anyone that we could reward, even if they were to go 5-7. By the way, they might not. They might beat Army. They got a pretty good chance this year. Then they'd be 6-6 and have a better record than some teams that inevitably end up playing in bowl games. Just doesn't seem all that hard, man. Some of these, it's like how much badly they've screwed up the James Madison thing. Apparently, it's not just James Madison. There's another team. Jacksonville?
Yeah,
maybe?
Jacksonville State. Because it's their first year as well.
Making the transition. And they'll be bowl eligible, but they can only get in if there aren't enough bowl eligible teams.
So what if JMU and Jacksonville State just decided to play or something on New Year's Eve?
Oh, that'd be dope, right? I mean, I don't think they can, but I mean, I don't think anybody would care about Jacksonville State, but and James Madison, of course, lost on Saturday.
Right.
Get all the hoopla, all the hype, and everybody losing their minds, only to turn around and at home against Appalachian State. All right, I don't have much more to say about John Harbaugh's press conference yesterday. Hopefully the news continues to trend good. I mean, we're going to have to monitor injury reports this week when it comes to – I'm not worried about Lamar Jackson at all. I mean, he finished the game. I'm not worried about Lamar Jackson. Now, if you want to say you're worried about overall how banged up he might be, sure, but he's in the exclusive club of everyone when it comes to that. Like, everybody's banged up. But the guys that have maybe the opportunity to return, Marlon Humphrey, Ronnie Stanley, we'll just have to watch injury reports during the course of the week and see what we can gather from that. I do think it's worth pointing out that with the bye the following week, I wouldn't be stunned if that plays a role in whatever decision the team makes. I wouldn't be stunned if they take it a little bit easier and use a little bit more caution with those guys specifically. Look, it's always what I say. If they can play, they'll play. That's the way that it works. If you're healthy enough to play, you play. But given that there's a bye following and an opportunity to come out of it, I wouldn't be stunned. All that being said, every game now is critical for the Ravens, who at the moment now sit in the number 1 spot in the AFC. Of course, that's only because they played one more game than the other two teams. But currently, they're the only 8-3 team in the AFC. So at the moment, when you look at the standings, you'll see the Ravens as being the top seed in the AFC. I saw somebody point out how much more difficult the Ravens' schedule is than the Chiefs' remaining schedule.
Oh, yeah, the Chiefs have a...
Yeah.
I don't think that it's very reasonable to think the Chiefs don't lose another game.
Okay, but I don't think anybody thought they were going to lose to the Broncos either.
Wow.
So I'm not really willing to go there at all. Ryan Mink, of course, from the Ravens website was the one. Ravens remaining schedule: at the Chargers, against the Rams, at the Jaguars, at the 49ers, versus the Dolphins, versus the Steelers. 4 of those 6 remaining teams all have winning records. 3 of them are 7-3. The Chiefs' remaining schedule: at the Raiders, at the Packers, versus the Bills, at the Patriots, versus the Raiders, versus the Bengals, and at the Chargers. Only one of those teams has a winning record, and none of them have 7 wins. The only team with a winning record left on their schedule is a home game against the Bills. Now, all that being said, again, the Ravens have been very good. It might very well be that they're ready to go for this kind of gauntlet of a schedule at the end of the season. It might very well be that the Chiefs are just trending the wrong way. Like, they've lost 2 out of their last 3 games and did their damnedest to lose the other one. They don't score points in the second half. It's a really weird bit. They're just like, nah, we're good. We'd rather not do that. I don't suggest it, for the record. I'm not a football man. But if I were the Chiefs, I would score points in the second half.
First time in NFL history, a multi-time MVP has had his team go scoreless in the second half of 3 straight games.
Okay. I mean, that's a very unique, specific.
It is.
I guess I'm not surprised that he's the only one. A lot of qualifications to that. But sure, nonetheless, fact, and I guess somewhat interesting. So thank you for tipping that in.
No problem.
The easy takeaway is the wide receiver thing. And look, he hit Marquez Valdez-Scantling in what should have been a big play, if not a touchdown, there at the end of the fourth quarter last night. And then one play later was sacked, and they were kind of out of it because they were back at 4th and 25. This goes back to all the conversation. I don't really feel like maybe it's ironic we're having this conversation at the time where Joe Flacco's coming back to the league. But this goes back to all of the dumb guy conversation that we had for years in Baltimore, where I would hear from mouth breathers constantly, once you get paid as a quarterback, you got to make the wide receivers better. That's not a thing. It will never be a thing. I have no idea how we continue to allow that analysis to just stand, to just go unchecked. Tom Brady, the year that Gronk got hurt, probably did the most with the least receivers as far as winning a championship. And I'm pretty sure, I had to go back and think about that team. And I think that was an Edelman team. I still think that they had something at wide receiver. They might not have had the, 6'4" game-changing type of wide receiver, but I'm pretty sure they had something at the position. This isn't a thing and never has been a thing. It's the part of the Joe Flacco conversation that no one ever wants to talk about. Which isn't me trying to be a Joe Flacco truther and tell you that he would have been a Hall of Famer if there had just been better wide receivers around him. It's that the Ravens bungled it badly. And we allowed this sort of thing to stand where we said, well, once you get paid, that's just the reality. Like, the quarterback's got to make the wide receivers better. It doesn't happen. You can't make someone better. Patrick Mahomes can't make Marquez Valdez-Scantling catch that football. He can only do exactly what he did, which is brilliantly put it right on him. The number of times we've watched the Lamar miss deep throws this season, and most of them have been to the outside. There haven't been as many to the middle of the field. This one was middle of the field. Wide open. Ball hits him in the hands. You can't do anything about that. You can't say, well, I mean, he could. Nope. This is what happens when you think you don't need to invest at wide receiver. Now, look, man, they won the Super Bowl a year ago without really having anything at wide receiver. They probably duped themselves into believing that, like, this is doable. You can just stroll whoever you want out there, and Patrick Mahomes is so good that he could win with them. The truth is that we know that the Chiefs have gotten much better defensively, and they've become a much more complete football team. And that's their path to victory, which, ironically, is a lot of teams' path to victory. The Ravens, that's been their path to victory this season. It doesn't look like this year, uniquely, you need to be the team that can score in 15 seconds. It looks like this year there's a much more open opportunity for teams to be complete football teams. The Eagles aren't blowing everyone away. They're winning close games. Their defense has been significant. I'd still rather have their wide receivers. I'll be honest about that. But nobody's blowing anybody away. And that's why, it's a little bit more intrigue how things go. As much as we think it's a murderer's row or a gauntlet of quarterbacks in the AFC, and I've said that a few times, none of those teams are playing run and shoot, score 45 points a game type of football. And obviously one of the quarterbacks has already gone by the wayside in Joe Burrow. So we'll see. We'll see, but complete football has largely been a good thing. The Chiefs, they can still play complete football. And I still think, to Griffin's point, that they'll probably win the majority of their games. That said, we can't ignore the fact that, it's just not great right now. They've lost 2 out of their last 3 games, and it could have been all 3. I know that you would say that, the Eagles and the Dolphins are really good teams, and the Broncos look like they're better than we thought when the Chiefs lost to them. So they can still be a haves and have-not situation for the rest of their schedule. Maybe. Or maybe there's really a problem with the Chiefs. Maybe. It definitely ain't good. The Ravens have a unique opportunity to do something that's never happened before in Baltimore, which is host an AFC championship game. And that can't matter to them. They have to approach it the same way no matter what seed they end up being in the playoffs. If they're the 2-3, the seed, the 3 seed, they can't think about the disappointment of, boy, we could have delivered something to this city and we could have delivered. They can't think about it at all. And by the way, they could still be the 2 seed and host the AFC championship game. It could work out that way. But they have a unique opportunity to do something that's never happened in Baltimore. And it doesn't come along very often. This is a franchise that has done a lot of things. So it's a big deal if they could bring an AFC title game to Baltimore for the first time. It's not relevant in terms of, it's the only way they could win a Super Bowl. They could win a Super Bowl playing all the games on the road. But it's a unique chance, and it would be something special, and it gets your juices flowing a little bit because no one's done it. It would be a new memory for the entire city to create. And that opportunity is very much in front of them. It won't be easy. And it's why every game, even as I say, perhaps this week you start thinking about the bye coming and maybe you consider not pushing the issue with Marlon Humphrey or not pushing the issue with Ronnie Stanley. This game matters significantly because you are fighting with multiple teams to try to win the AFC. You're fighting with the Dolphins. You're fighting with the Jaguars. You're fighting with the Chiefs. Every game is relevant. You can't really afford to stub your toe in any of these, particularly knowing that some of those head-to-heads are coming up. The good news, of course, is the Ravens get that extra rest ahead of it. All right, today's show is also brought to you by Superbook, and as we think to Sunday night, I am still befuddled by the line. I get it. It's a road game, and I get that it's the other side of the country, and I understand all what. Right? Yeah. Well, that's part of the story, Griffin, no doubt. Like, there is no home field advantage really for the Chargers. Like, that doesn't really exist, honestly. So I'm confused as to why the number is only 4 points. Chargers lost Joey Bosa on top of everything else. The defense already wasn't good, and now they have no Joey Bosa. 4 points is the number. If that means something to you, then I would encourage you to get to Superbook.com, download the Superbook app, and when you do, you can use the code GlennClark23 and receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. Again, Superbook.com, download the Superbook app, use the code GlennClark23. All right, when we come back in, we are going to chat with a journalism legend, Bill Rhoden. He was in Baltimore last Thursday. We will talk to him about what he saw from the Ravens and the opportunity that's in front of Lamar Jackson to break through and win a Super Bowl. We'll talk about that next. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Hey Ravens fans, looking for the perfect new game day brew? Get a Guilford, Baltimore's finest craft beer during the next home game at the bank. That's not all. Gather your flock next home game and check out Guilford Hall Brewery's brand new bar, the Gilly Nest, located near Section 505. No tickets? No problem. Enjoy all Ravens games all season long at our restaurant and brewery in Station North. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Todd Karpovich profiles the Orioles' survivors, Anthony Santander, Austin Hayes, Cedric Mullins, and Ryan Mountcastle, who all came from the previous regime but stuck through tough times to be key pieces in guiding the franchise back to prominence. Also inside, we remember the iconic Brooks Robinson with tributes from Jim Henneman and myself, Stan the Fan Charles, and a trip down memory lane to remember the most significant moments of his career. Plus, we meet players from college basketball programs around the state. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Visit Harford County. Gear up for the holidays by supporting local with Small Business Saturday on November 25th. Take in the dazzling sights of the season with a Ladue Christmas at Ladue Topiary Gardens. Enjoy holiday lights, sing along to holiday songs, reserve a carriage ride, and sit on Santa's lap in Bel Air's Winter Wonderland, happening every Saturday from November 25th until December 16th. Nothing sparks that holiday joy quite like a festive parade. Head to visitharford.com and click on Events to see the full list of parades and so much more. In Maryland, you're welcome.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on, where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Come for a game, stay for everything else. Book an unforgettable fall getaway in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouthwatering eats, and endless entertainment. Treat yourself to a staycation in the heart of downtown or try one of the city's many charming neighborhood hotels. And don't miss out on packages for free parking, breakfast, and more. Plan your stay at baltimore.org/hotels.
Don't forget about Project Game Day after every Ravens game this season. It's kind of like this show, except Rita's also there, so I actually think it's pretty good. But hey, you're already here now, so why don't you go ahead and keep listening to GCR.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along in hour number 1 of today's show. It's also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Our next guest was in Baltimore last Thursday night as the Ravens beat the Bengals, and he wrote for Andscape about what's now in front of Lamar Jackson, and as he says, it's Lamar Jackson's time to take the next step. We hope he's right about that. He is a Morgan man himself. He is the great Bill Rhoden, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Bill, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It is always great to catch up with you. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Hey, Glenn, how you doing?
Everything
always great being with you.
Well, everything is great here, Bill. Really appreciate taking the time for us. And, you know, there's a few things that really interested in me in what you wrote about. And I think one, as you know, I am painfully white, right? Like, I am about as white as it gets. I think that some people would read your column and say, well, you know, Patrick Mahomes won a couple of Super Bowls. But what you talk about in what Lamar Jackson represents, and I just read my friend John Eisenberg's book, Rocket Man, about the pain and why it's still so personal to see everything that black quarterbacks have been through. What he represents as sort of the lineage of quarterback that would have been told, and he was attempted to be told, to play other positions, and some of the pain that has been felt by black people attempting to play quarterback that probably is a bit different than even what, you know, Patrick Mahomes' story is. That really resonated with me, what Lamar Jackson maybe represents, even separated from other simply black quarterbacks.
Yeah, you know, that I know that's an important distinction. And I asked Mahomes this last year in the lead-up to the Super Bowl. And I asked Mahomes, is that did anybody ever try to switch positions? You know, now Mahomes is a great athlete, and he played baseball and all that, but not in the same way. And his answer was that no, nobody ever switched me because, A, I'm not that kind of athlete. Nobody ever tried to get me to play, you know, corner or safety. Because I didn't want to do it. You know, first time I tried to tackle somebody, I said, I'll never do that. But there's a distinction. Mahomes is athletic, but he's not the kind of classic athlete who is typically switched to cornerback and wide receiver. He was not that kind of guy. Where Lamar comes from that lineage of those really great athletes who were immediately switched to wide receiver because they had that kind of speed, or defensive back because they had that kind of athleticism. And that, to me, and all this is up for debate, you know, it's my take. But, you know, guys like, now I'm switching his name, he just recently passed away, Marlon Briscoe.
Oh, sorry,
you know?
yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a whole line of black quarterbacks like that who were great. I mean, Briscoe ended up, you know, starting for cornerback with the Denver Broncos back in 1968. So that's what I was meaning. That's who, in my mind, Lamar represents. He represents that lineage of really talented black guys, black athletes, who were so talented that they never got the opportunity to play the position because, you know, there was always this thought that athleticism and brains don't go hand in hand. If you're this really athletic guy, you can't, you're not smart enough to play quarterback. So that's what I was referring to that in terms of what, in my mind, Lamar represents, which is why I think it would be so significant and important for a guy like that to, you know, prove that this is sustainable, or at least for this year, and win this, you know, and lead Baltimore to a Super Bowl title.
Can I follow up on that? Because I also felt like what you were speaking to was what Lamar Jackson means to black culture in general. That it's, it's some of it is about, the lineage of him being that type of quarterback, but also a part of it is about how he represents black culture and what he means within black culture as a figure in America, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, and this gets really complex, probably beyond the scope of this show. But so does Pat Mahomes. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is biracial. His mom is white, dad's black. Well, there are plenty of African Americans historically who come out of that, who are biracial, first, second generation. So, he represents a particular strain of black culture too. But so does Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar probably is more typical, at least for the first 2 or 3 generations. Both parents African American, all of us. If we dig deep enough, every black person in America, for the most part, if you dig deep enough in your lineage, there comes at some point some white folks enter into the scenario. But so yeah, and Lamar is more, we call typical. He's brown skin, the way he wears his hair. He's more the kind of typical person who would be. The police would say, back in the days when we quote, police radio, number 2 black male, going eastbound East Baltimore Street, and it would be more likely a guy that looks like Lamar. So I think that I forgot who said it. Some guy I talked to in a barbershop before the Super Bowl last year. I went to a black barbershop in Arizona, which I know is kind of an oxymoron. But it was a black barbershop, and we went into because it was Mahomes playing against Jalen Hurts, and we had this debate about which one of those 2 black quarterbacks do you think the black barbershop will root for? And although the barber said, "Hey man, I'm going with Mahomes. I'm never betting against that guy," but culturally, I think a lot of guys will go for Jalen Hurts. He's the kind of brother, when he comes into the black barbershop, he knows what chair to sit in. He knows what barbershop to go to, But both, they're both considered brothers, but maybe culturally, a guy like Lamar might get the nod. So I guess we could probably have another whole show about that. But
right.
Yeah, I think your instincts, I think, are correct. What I want to just say is that we're all African American, are part of the same cauldron. We just have different streams. There's,
sure.
The biracial stream, and we're all at some point, like I said, at some point, every African American at some point is biracial. Just how deep do you have to go in our lineage, find that out. I think that your question was very perceptive.
I think, Bill, it speaks to how he resonates with black culture, and I do think that that's very relevant, and he's sort of carrying that with him as he goes on. Bill Rhoden is with us, and we'll link up his story from Andscape on our Twitter account, @GlennClarkRadio, so you can check it out. Bill, it's interesting to me because the burden that he faces, it has always been in part because of his skin color, right? Like I'm not stupid. I know that. But I feel like, and I think that you touch on this, the burden that Lamar now faces is a little bit more significant than that, right? Like, five chapters of his story have already been written, and it hasn't involved any playoff success yet. And now that's a different burden, and maybe even, I don't know if I want to say more significant, but when we talk about, the way that history will tell Lamar's story one day, it's arguably more significant, right? Like, whatever you do, and as great as he's been, he's going to be measured fairly unfairly. I think this is just the nature of football. He's going to be measured by, does he become a playoff quarterback? Does he become someone who wins when the spotlight is the biggest? And it almost to the point where, like, this season in Baltimore, Bill, and I'm sure you felt some of this when you've been here, like, it's okay, this is cool, but wake me up when it's January, like, wake me up when it's getting to that point. It's a very unique burden that he now carries with him moving forward.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and I think that's the only thing that matters. We've been here before. We've seen Lamar in the regular season. when you talk about Tom Brady, I don't know how many regular season MVPs he's won, but what I do know is the number 6, that he's won titles. And I think Lamar knows that. And, the last 2 seasons, the story has been written. The last 2 seasons, he did not finish, and so that's why, I think last year I was in Baltimore a lot because I was intrigued by the whole, fully guaranteed contract thing. It is almost political. That will he hold out to change the narrative among owners about forcing through guaranteed contracts? Well, of course, we know that it did not. But, I said, okay, let me come at this point because, Cincinnati, Baltimore is a big game. But I've been through Lamar regular season. That is no longer what's important now, as you touched on. What's important now is what he does in the postseason. Right now, the figure is 1-4. He's been there 4 times, only won once. And that's why the major leap must be the Super Bowl. And I know, that's easy for you to say, but like you said, man, this is in sports and we have scoreboards. We have statistics. And now the door is really open. Burrow's out. Deshaun Watson's out. Kansas City seems kind of vulnerable. So you look at the AFC, they're going to San Diego. They're going to L.A. with the Chargers on Sunday. Where Herbert is clearly a really great young talent, but the coach is on the hot seat. So I think everything is aligned that if Lamar can stay healthy, and that's key, that the door is open for him to take that next step. And I guess what we're all looking for is, can he?
It's so funny you
really?
bring that, Bill. You bring that up, and I will tell you, I did a hit before the game last Thursday with one of the big networks, and that question came up, right? Like, do you believe that Lamar Jackson can get it done in the playoffs? And I found myself saying, well, like, it caught myself for a second because it took me a second, and they were like, and I said, okay, yeah, but I do. He's too good. He's too good for him to not ultimately figure it out in the playoffs. So, like, it's. When you bring that up, can he? I feel like the answer is we know he can. It sort of feels like it's more like will he, right? Like it feels like it's just more of an anomaly that we're at this point because he missed, 2 years worth of playoffs and there was 1 year where he clearly wasn't fully yet Lamar Jackson as a rookie. And so it feels like we're more talking about the fact that he went, 1-2 in 2 years of fair measurement of playoff games. Like I'm in a weird place with this conversation because I know it's relevant, but at the same time, it just sort of feels more like it's an odd set of circumstances that's got us here than that Lamar Jackson is some sort of dreadful, guy who panics as soon as the month turns to January.
Yeah, no, he's great, and you're right. I mean, there's a certain emotion there when you say, can he? We say, well, I say, well, I hope so.
Right.
I hope so. But if you really look honestly on the last, 2-3 years, and sports, it is emotional because you don't want to sometimes follow the truth where it leads. You say, well, the honest truth is that the odds are kind of like each of the last 2 years he got hurt. And remember, I'm sure you guys felt the way I felt when he was knocked out for a minute along the sideline. I mean, the stadium absolutely went silent.
Yep.
They're like, oh, my God.
Yep.
Really? And I think that's the way it's going to be. Every time Lamar stays down, everybody's going to hold their collective breath because they realize that when he's not there, it's over. I mean, I was in Cincinnati last year, and I'll admit, honestly, typically when people ask me over the years, who are you for? I said, man, I'm a mercenary sports writer. I'm for the story.
Right.
But there's probably because I went to Morgan and went to Memorial Stadium a lot and love Lenny Moore and Jim Parker. And I know the relationship that Baltimore fans have with the old Colts and now the Ravens. So yeah, there's a part that I would love to see on a lot of levels of Ravens get back to the Super Bowl. And to the credit, it's not like they've never won it. I mean, they've won Super Bowl, so it's not like we're talking about a desert. But yeah, just getting back to your point, when somebody says, "Well, will he do it this year?" And you're right, you want to lead with your heart. Yeah. Then you go, "Well, I mean, I hope he can."
Right.
You know,
Right.
it would be wonderful. You know, so yeah, I think that's where Ravens Nation is. That we know that Lamar has got the talent to do it, but can he stay healthy? Will he continue to show? I don't know. What is it? Progress in this new system? You know, I think he's still adjusting to it. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it culturally, in terms of just pure football, pure ball. I just think that if it would happen, and at the end of February, I mean, in February, he's holding up the the trophy. Yeah, I mean, I think it would great, and it would end, I think, a significant chapter of this evolution of black quarterbacks and style of play and all that. But, you know, we hope so.
Boy, I mean, if you think you hope so, I mean, my God, we hope so for much more selfish reasons here in Baltimore.
Well, of course, it's good. It's good for business.
Yeah.
You know, but whenever you get to hope, I remember the last time I ever used hope, I was during the NBA playoffs, and I was in the locker room. The Lakers were playing somebody, and I started off a question with Magic Johnson. I said, "Magic, do you ever stop me that I don't hope?"
Yep.
You know, and that's the last time I used that, hope. You know, when you get to hope, you know, in anything, you know, I hope so. That is, you're in very fragile territory.
Yeah,
So,
I hope that none of my family members are going to say something stupid on Thanksgiving. I can't do anything about it, right? It's just the way it's going to go.
Yeah, well, you guys, they're allowed to hope. You know,
Yeah.
they're allowed to hope.
Bill Rhoden, I always appreciate our conversations. We're going to link up the story on our Twitter account. Is there anything else we can plug for you, sir?
No, I wish. I'll call you back. You know, there's a book that we all want to write. When it finally comes, I'll call you. But no, it's always great, man. I really appreciate the way you guys represent, the way you cover the market, and you know, and I think this Lamar Jackson continues to be a fascinating story. I'm fascinated by it. I always have been. And the last thing I'll say, I think that Harbaugh gets some credit in this, because I know early on he was aware of this whole history of black quarterbacks, and he always went out of his way to praise Lamar's football IQ, and he's still doing it now. How well he sees the field and how well he does this, does that. And I think it emanates from when I think it was Bill Polian, who's the person who started out saying Lamar should be a wide receiver in the NFL, and he's since recanted, obviously, in the face of obvious evidence. But I think there's some of that still exists and lingers in the NFL. I think people kind of grit their teeth and are just kind of going along with it, because that's where we're going when you see this whole new generation, which is the thing we didn't touch on. I know I'm kind of going long, but that's why the window from Lamar, I mean, he's 26, but we see this new breed already coming up, C.J. Stroud.
Yep.
And maybe just, there's a whole new breed of these young people coming up who are taking it to another level. So Lamar is almost at 26, is kind of becoming a pioneer of that generation. So, yeah, I think that, there's a lot of stuff at play here. But anyway, that was a long way of saying appreciate you guys and the way you cover the market. And, look forward to checking in as this thing progresses.
Maybe we talking about this for quite some time. Maybe we having a chat in Las Vegas about it at some point, Bill. That would be great news for everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
So.
No doubt. Do I ever. Happy Thanksgiving to you and to your family. Always appreciate you making time for us. Thanks so much for doing this morning, Bill.
Absolutely, man. Take care. Happy Thanksgiving.
The great Bill Rhoden with us here on GCR. And, he speaks to the burdens. And Lamar has felt a lot of those burdens over the years. And what he means to black culture is one of those burdens, right? That, like, he is held up in a different way in black culture than even other black quarterbacks. And it's not, and I think Bill was trying to say, it's not a competition about who's more black. It's just the way that black culture embraces Lamar. Now combine that with the burden of the playoff thing. And I know Bill said he's 1-4. It's not 1-4. It's 1-3. But I think he was trying to say he's played in 4 playoff games. He hasn't been 4 times. He's been in 4 playoff games. Of course, he missed the other 2 years. That's a burden. That's a burden that he carries. And it probably would have been eradicated in one of the last 2 seasons, but injuries prevented that. So now it's carrying deep into his career. And we're still going to be thinking about it. We're still going to be dealing with it. All right, we don't need to take a break. We can. You tell me when we're
good to go.
All right, we're good to go. We will shift gears then here on GCR. It is a Tuesday, and every Tuesday we try to get you caught up. Remember, we try to do local here at PressBox and on GCR. And part of that is we want to cover high school sports. And we have a partner. It's CountySports.Zone. And every Tuesday, we get into CountySports.Zone Radio. Joining us, as he does every week, he is our friend Wes Brown, and he's with us now here on GCR. Wes, it's Glenn. It's always great to chat with you. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me.
So I'll pull the curtain back for everybody. Wes, kindly, because admittedly I cannot follow high school sports the same way that Wes does. Wes gives me some notice the night before about various things. I do have to say, though, Wes, one thing you don't know about me, I'm very disappointed that you're not including my Perry Hall Gators a little bit more in the rundown, because we're getting very excited about the possibility that may be in front of them to win a state title.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely going to be an interesting weekend here with semifinals, getting for the chance to get to Annapolis.
Yeah, very big opportunity in front of our boys. We can talk about that a little bit more. I guess let's start at the public school level, just because I care about Perry Hall. Give me the rundown of what mattered from quarterfinal weekend and what's at stake as we move towards the semifinals.
Yeah, so this past weekend there were actually still a lot of blowouts. You know, it's weird. It's one of those seasons where we haven't had too many close games, but we did manage to have a close one with Broadneck, who we talked about over the last few weeks. They actually beat Northwest, who upset Quince Orchard.
Right.
So it's kind of an interesting weekend in terms of that game.
So I'm looking at the semifinals ahead, and of course I care a great deal about Mervo and Perry Hall coming up. That's selfish on Friday night. But some of the other ones, as you brought up, like the 4A level with Winston Churchill and Broadneck, that Broadneck story is kind of resonating at the moment, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, 4A is interesting because we're going to have, a new champion for the first time in a long while, pre-COVID. So it's going to be interesting to see who can come out on top there. No one seems to be grabbing the games yet, but Broadneck seems to keep chipping away, and then they're one of those teams that's one win away.
All right, staying at the public school level, I know it was a big weekend in soccer with the title games over at Loyola. Give me a quick rundown of championship weekend.
Yeah, so the thriller was the boys 4A title game with Leonardtown winning its first ever title, knocking off Northwestern there. They had built up a 2-0 lead, but then gave up a goal, got a red card, gave up another goal to tie the game and send it to overtime, but managed to right the ship and then win in a shootout there.
They scored. Wait, so they won despite being man down starting in the second half?
Late in the second half,
okay.
With like 3 or 4 minutes left.
Wow.
It was a 2-1 game at that point, but it was a huge Northwestern goal that really reached the tipping point there and tied things up.
Wow.
But they also had all the momentum there in the overtime periods, but weren't quite able to get that sudden death goal.
And those weren't the only. It's not just soccer that handed out championships this weekend, right?
Yeah, volleyball was also all day on Saturday. Kind of similar to football. We had 2-3-0 sweeps and a 3-1 victory, but there was a back and forth 1A title with Clear Spring coming out on top 3-2.
All right, we're chatting with Wes Brown. It's CountySports.Zone Radio as we go over the world of high school sports at the moment. Staying with championships at the private school level, kind of as expected, right, in the 2 title games over the weekend?
Yeah, definitely. Concordia, kind of matched up with John Carroll there in the B title. But even talking to some of the Concordia players after, it was kind of you see the other team show up and it's like they're not really on the same level. So Concordia won that 35-0, finishing 11-1 on the season. And they're actually moving up to the A conference next year. So they're kind of excited to take on that new challenge and utilize some of their talent more. But their only loss of the year was to Spalding, who also took the A title, 40-7 over McDonough. Malik Washington, who we've talked about before, kind of struggled there early on with, drop passes and misreads, but they turned to the run game and kind of just methodically went through with everything. And then there was, some scrapping there in the second half when McDonough started to fall behind, and that kind of ended up sealing the fate there.
So let me ask you about, because you mentioned Concordia Prep moving up to the A conference level. Do we know enough to know how ready they are for making that jump?
Oh yeah, I mean they have like 3 or 4 Division I football prospects on the team this year. They've got another really good one in linebacker Sydney Stewart, who's going to be there next year. So I mean they've done a really good job under their new athletic director / director of player ops Janet King, and that coaching staff's done a good job of bringing in some talented players and sort of restocking stuff there. So it will be interesting to see them make that jump, but they definitely have the talent to compete.
All right, so now this is you're really plugged in, obviously, Wes. This is an important question because I've heard rumors that as they make the jump, so you might not know this, but our own Griffin Bass is the play-by-play voice of Concordia Prep football. I've heard rumors as they make the jump to the A conference, they feel like they might need to do even better in that department. Like they're not sure if Griffin's ready to be an A conference type of play-by-play guy. You haven't heard any rumors about that as you've been covering Concordia Prep, have you?
No, I haven't.
All right, if you could keep poking around on that for me, I'd appreciate that, because just some stuff that I've heard in the streets, maybe a little bit. All right, athlete of the week. Who's the athlete of the week this week, Wes?
Yeah, so we kind of talked about it a couple weeks back, but officially now Nick Cyrus there at City College. Last week we mentioned the clashing of styles there, and it didn't really bode too well for Mount Hebron. Cyrus went for 5 touchdowns, 3 on the ground, 2 passing, in a 42-7 win there in the quarterfinal. It was just, hitting long balls, putting together big drives and capping them off with rushing scores. So he had a huge, City Poly game, and now he's back up in our athlete of the week after a strong quarterfinal.
I don't remember what the numbers were from the Poly game. They were absurd. I mean, they were like video game. Your mind couldn't even compute it. He set a new state record for most passing yards in a game. Correct in that one.
Yeah.
Is he on the radar at all as far as recruiting is concerned? I don't know this. I mean, it's difficult when you're at the public school level. What do we know about Nick Cyrus and maybe being a next level player?
Yeah, I mean he's definitely on the radar. He is a junior, so he still has that extra year. But City College had a ton of really good receivers there as well. They're sending one to Maryland this year. They got a couple others in 2025 who will come up with him next year. But he's definitely an athlete who should have some sort of future at the next level.
All right, and anything else? I know this week obviously you have Thanksgiving holiday, but we talked about it's semifinal week. Anything else that jumps out at you and you say, hey, this needs to be on your radar as we head towards semifinal week?
Yeah, so obviously besides the Perry Hall game, we have
it's the most important one by far, Wes. No offense, it's just the most important one there is.
Yeah, but besides that one, we got Dunbar, still just a 3 seed in their state tournament region there. Still looking to three-peat after 2 titles in a row, but they're traveling to face Patuxent on Friday. And then we got Linganore hosting Northern out of Calvert County. In a battle of teams that have been just cruising through this postseason, not really many close games at all for them. But something's got to give here, out of all these matchups this weekend, winning teams move on to Annapolis. So all the games are on Friday this week, some in the afternoon, but most in the evening. But then we'll move into next week where we have all the state championships down in Navy.
All right. Remind everybody about CountySports.Zone, what all can be found there, how they can find you and CSC on social media as well.
Yeah, so you can head over to CountySports.Zone. We have all the brackets from all the postseasons, the active football, the past sports that have just finished up. But we've got all the scores and schedules for all the schools across the state of Maryland. We're going to be in the process of getting up the winter schedules as well for anything to look forward to. And you can find us at CSC Scores on social media, and then I'm W_Brown21.
All right. Look forward to previewing the state title games with you next week, sir. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Thanks as always taking the time for us.
Yep, thank you.
Wes Brown, CountySports.Zone Radio. We do it every Tuesday. I haven't actually heard those rumors, Griffin, but like
Okay,
I just
good.
I
do trust you because you're more plugged in, slightly more.
You
slightly
never
more
know,
plugged in.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's obviously a big jump. A big jump. They maybe it's time to go. No, I think Griffin does a fine job in that department.
Thank you.
And I think you'll be ready. Obviously, a big jump though. Big jump to go compete at the A conference level moving forward after winning the B conference title this year. I forgot to bring it up, but I think the internet is finding the thing last night with Jalen Carter trying to intercept the spike. I loved it. Absolutely loved Jalen Carter sliding through the legs of the offensive line to try to come up with an interception last night on the spike at the end of the first half. Like, I've, in my dreams, thought of something like that happening over the years. That somebody just gets through and, like, at least gets a fist on the ball or something, pops it back up in the air, and somehow something magical were to occur, and, like, a spike is no longer. I absolutely loved that. Now, apparently he'd said that he had seen it from a high school game recently. Like, it actually happened. I was not aware of that. Like, and that's where he got the idea from to attempt it. And he was damn
my
close.
God. I mean, he was right under it.
I mean, like, as you look back at it again, you almost can't believe it didn't hit his hands, right? You're like, wait, how? Because he was that close. And
he went through the center's legs, didn't he?
Yes, correct. And the internet has been poking around, and apparently Dominique Foxworth shared that it was something that Ed Reed would practice. Like, that Ed Reed would attempt to practice intercepting a spike over the years, and it never happened. But man,
yeah,
I would love to.
Or just something
cool.
like
What a cool moment that would have been.
They are able to deflect it up. The quarterback just instinctively catches it,
and now he's running
the clock,
with it, or
and the
something
clock
like that?
has to run.
Oh yeah,
So it just kind of completely ruins. Yeah, maybe not necessarily interception,
It'd
but
be really, really cool. I would
now we're gonna have to see what. Well, how. Because I was thinking, they just turn around and throw it backwards, but then that'd be a backwards pass.
You can't, and
so
you can't throw it again because the spike is considered a forward pass. Like, there's nothing else you can do other than just get tackled or try to run far enough to get out of bounds in a situation like that. I mean, you could try to bat it down, I guess, if it bounces back to you. That's really what a quarterback should try to do, is just bat the ball back down to the ground. That's what they're taught on a tip drill situation, is that if there's a tip drill and it comes back to you, unless it's obvious, you're supposed to just try to bat it back down.
Unless you're Marcus Mariota and
yeah, I guess then you can complete a touchdown to yourself. It's not the only one; it's happened before. All right, when we come back in, we will chat with our buddy Patrick Stevens. Been a rough start for Maryland basketball. Not a lot of great things going on in general in the local basketball front, but we will find out about what's been happening over the course of the last week. Project Game Day returns this Sunday night following Ravens Chargers. We hope you'll come hang out with us after the game. Myself, Rita, Femi, KZ, the whole crew. You can watch the show Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline. Find out more. PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay. Project Game Day is brought to you by AJ Michaels, Superbook Sports, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. We will see you Sunday night following Ravens Chargers. Patrick Stevens next. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit Superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
What's up, everyone? It's Tyus Bowser, and I've had so much fun hanging out with Rita and putting up with Glenn the last couple years that I've decided to do it again. Season 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show is happening this year, as we'll be all over town, giving you the chance to get to know me and some of my teammates. As we talk football, life in general, and just say what needs to be said. You can find out more about the show by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. If you don't live in the area, you can watch the shows live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you miss one, you can listen Friday nights at 105.7 The Fan. So we'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show Show, a partnership of PressBox and Great Ace Memorabilia.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, November 21st at Mother's North Grill in Timonium. It's brought to you by Superbook Sports, AJ Michaels, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on, where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? AJ Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Visit Harford County. Gear up for the holidays by supporting local with Small Business Saturday on November 25th. Take in the dazzling sights of the season with a Ladue Christmas at Ladue Topiary Gardens. Enjoy holiday lights, sing along to holiday songs, reserve a carriage ride, and sit on Santa's lap in Bel Air's Winter Wonderland, happening every Saturday from November 25th until December 16th. Nothing sparks that holiday joy quite like a festive parade. Head to visitharford.com and click on Events to see the full list of parades and so much more. In Maryland, you're welcome.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Hey Ravens fans, looking for the perfect new game day brew? Get a Guilford, Baltimore's finest craft beer during the next home game at the Bank. That's not all. Gather your flock next home game and check out Guilford Hall Brewery's brand new bar, the Gilly Nest, located near Section 505. No tickets? No problem. Enjoy all Ravens games all season long at our restaurant and brewery in Station North. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Sure, Glenn may be in his 40s now, but he looks just as good as he ever has, and he's still as sharp as he ever was. And I say both those things without even a shred of irony. Find out for yourself right now by watching the show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or youtube.com/PressBoxOnline.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along into hour number 2 of a Tuesday edition of the program. If you missed it yesterday, Stan the Fan, Charles, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson got together to talk a little baseball, talk a little bit about the retirement of former Orioles closer Zach Britton, amongst other topics. You can find that show, facebook.com/PressBoxSports, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline, or PressBoxOnline.com/video. And if it is a Tuesday here on GCR, that means it's time for us to talk college sports with our guy, Mr. Discourse himself, D1S Course, Washington Post, Blue Ribbon, amongst other places. He's our friend Patrick Stevens, and he's back with us now here on the program. Patrick, it's Glenn. Good to chat with you as always, my friend. Thanks for taking the time for us.
And thank you for having me, Glenn.
I dare you to say something pleasant about Maryland basketball right now.
They don't have to play Villanova again.
That's true. They do have that go for them, which is
yeah. That's about as good as I'm gonna be able to offer right now. I mean, not to sound like a broken record from last week, but you can't shoot, you're not gonna win.
Nope.
Like 40 points isn't gonna beat very many people.
No.
And so if you're Maryland, you need to solve that, or none of the other stuff really matters very much. And there is other stuff, but if you can't score, it doesn't matter.
I don't really even know, to your point about not trying to sound like a broken record, I genuinely don't know what else there is to say about it. I mean, like, this is the how much does if they were on pace at one point to finish with like 26. They needed a flurry in order to get to 40 on Friday night, and it's not.
Yeah, it was a barely achieved #quest for 40 there. That's for sure.
Right.
It reminds me, honestly, not that I'm saying this season is going to turn out this way, but clearly roster construction is a bit of an issue here, right? And you can sit there and say, well, you had guys hurt in the preseason and this, that, and the other. But you're kind of sitting there looking at that roster, and trying to imagine certain guys filling larger roles. And there isn't much evidence that some of those guys can do that just yet. And it reminds me a little bit of the last tournament team that Mark Turgeon had, the pandemic season, where, I thought he did in season one of his best coaching jobs to make the tournament with a pretty limited roster, but did one of his worst off-season coaching jobs handing him that roster to play with that year. And I look at this for Maryland, and there wasn't right now. You're staring at it. You got a couple freshmen that you think are going to be good in the long term, and that's great. But in terms of actually helping yourself with some established players and proven guys, and there just wasn't a whole lot added in the portal. And at this point, you're sitting there wondering how much better are some of these guys that are playing 10 to 20 minutes a game going to be over the long haul? I think it's a fair question. I don't know the answer to that.
Right.
But with this sort of start, with the ball not going in, like you certainly have to wonder, what is the ceiling for this team, even if Kevin Willard does an insane coaching job over the next several months.
So let's make the comparison, right? Like that as you point out, that was a heck of a coaching job in season by Mark Turgeon. If that could be had, they still have to avoid, like some of the indignity type of losses. And tonight they get UMBC, who's coming off a pretty good weekend and was competitive against Louisville. Are they at risk? Like, it feels like at this point, if you can't score, if you don't shoot the ball, you're at risk of losing to just about anybody that you might play.
You are at risk of losing to just about anybody, and this is a UMBC team that has put up 84 points in 4 of its 5 games. And yeah, there's a non-D1 in there, and yes, they play at a pretty rapid pace. But this is a game where if you're Maryland, you're going to have to go score some points. Like, you're probably not going to be able to get by 65-61 tonight. And, let me just stop there and say, I'm not kidding when I say that this could end up being like a 5-point game or worse for Maryland. Because the interesting thing about watching UMBC, I got to see them on Friday against Sacred Heart, is, for a team that's largely new, they're pretty well connected. And so they've got a couple freshmen that are really interesting. They've got guys like Kydarius Smith and Marcus Banks who have come in and made a difference. Immediately, Deion Brown, I think, is prepared to take the next step in his development. And so you look at them, and you're like, that's a team that might be a little better than we thought they were going to be. And Maryland is obviously not as good as we thought they were going to be. So it would not stun me at all to see UMBC come in and create some problems and certainly force Maryland to make some shots because, UMBC, I know they did score 59 in their loss to Marist in kind of a rock fight type game, but they're going to do their best to push the pace. So, it would not surprise me in the slightest to see this as like a 70-possession game, and Maryland's going to need to get into the 70s to win this thing.
Man, what a world. What a world. And like, this is what we're talking about with the Maryland UMBC game. But I'm with you in everything that you said. Patrick Stevens with us here on GCR. So obviously we covered UMBC there. I guess not really a whole lot else to be said at the local level, unfortunately, from the week.
Yeah, it was pretty lean there. Towson goes down to Charleston and loses 3 games and doesn't even crack 50 in 2 of them. Granted, they were playing Houston in one of those games, and in the other one, North Texas, which has been one of the slowest paced teams in the country over the last few years. Gave Wake Forest a decent run, but didn't quite have enough in that one. You look at Morgan State, and they went out west and got beat pretty good in a couple games against Fresno State and BYU. Loyola lost both of its games over the weekend at UMBC, also lost to Sacred Heart, also lost to Binghamton. So that's a 1-4 team that heads out to Missouri this week. You look elsewhere, Coppin State's off to an 0-6 start. Yeah. So kind of a lean scenario. Mount St. Mary's was somewhat competitive with Georgetown. Navy goes out to San Diego and loses a couple games out there. So yeah, not a lot to really pump up there on the local hoops front here in the opening weeks for sure.
Yeah, kind of an is what it is type of scenario. That said, obviously this is a great week on the national level, including the field out, and it's not Maui this year. It's in on the Big Island, but The field at the Maui event is insane, and it seems like every day today we get two absolutely blockbuster types of games in the semifinals.
Yeah, certainly. You get Purdue and Tennessee in one of them, and that I think should be plenty entertaining. You know, so you saw Purdue knock off Gonzaga, which has had great success in that event, and so that's a great win for the Boilermakers. Frankly, it very well may be better than pretty much anything other than maybe one or two games that they can win in the Big Ten this season.
Yeah.
And then Kansas against Marquette, I think, should be a fabulous game. Marquette being able to get by UCLA last night. Kansas got the layup basically against Chaminade. So that as a Final Four out in Maui is a pretty exceptional group.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. And then pretty much any set of championship game that you get out of that, you get two more really great games tomorrow out of that as well. What else as far as all of these, major events this week? Anything besides the Maui games that jump out at you and you say this one's probably worth trying to figure out what time and what network the game's on to watch this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can always look at the event, the Bahamas event, the Battle for Atlanta, as one of those tournaments that you can count on. I know Carolina. I think it's a real chance for them to kind of prove is this Carolina version better than what we saw a season ago? So that I think that's an event that has Villanova in it. It has an Arkansas team coming off that loss to Greensboro. It has Michigan, Memphis, Texas Tech. So maybe not quite as classic a grouping, but I think a Villanova-Texas Tech game could be fun, and I think that an Arkansas-Michigan possibility on the second day of the event could also be pretty good. So that I think is another one of those tournaments that's pretty solid. And I'll also give a little bit of a shout out the event in Orlando. If for nothing else, maybe if the field isn't the most fabulous, but you have the possibility of Virginia Tech facing VCU on the second day of the tournament, and you've got Virginia Tech and Texas A&M in that event too. So that's a possible Buzz Williams reunion with Virginia Tech there on the last day of the event. Florida Atlantic Butler, that's at least two names that we've gotten to know because of what they've done in March over the years. Should be interesting to see how FAU responds to that loss to Bryant over the weekend.
It feels like we should continue to talk about Cam Spencer, too, who is really settling nicely right now with UConn, who obviously had a nice little weekend.
Yes, and it turns out that was a pretty good move for him, right? They go and they beat Indiana and Texas, and at this point, that's a team that needs a little bit of a boost, given that Castle's out and Klingon, who was hurt in the preseason, and so you look at Cam Spencer, last three games, 25 points, 18 points, 16 points, doing quite well for the Huskies as he is in his now fifth season of college eligibility. He was able to certainly make a mark on Rutgers last year, making an even bigger impact, I think, for UConn at this point. Just a super efficient season so far for the former Loyola Greyhounds.
Any other, obviously I'm not trying to say that Cam Spencer is this, but any other players who are turning heads and they're proving to be must-watch guys early on in the season at the national level that I'm not thinking about?
I think it's a little early to be offering that up at this point. Give it a few more weeks.
All right, we can have that conversation.
To kind of let things.
I'm with it. I get that. I'm sort of settling in, Patrick, for what if this really goes very badly for Maryland, and we need things to talk about over the course of the next couple of months, is the concern that maybe I have playing out in my mind. In the meantime, let's play our game. Can Patrick Stevens name the MLB teams that this particular player has played for? I will tell you that I combed through the Hall of Fame ballot, which was released this week. We've done all of them. We have done all of the players over the years, so unfortunately we are back to some ball busters, but the way that I know you'll probably end up blowing my mind with how you perform. For example, this guy was a three-time All-Star, which I did not realize as I was poking around for a player this week. He had 6 teams during his career. The relief pitcher is Francisco Cordero.
Francisco Cordero.
Yeah,
God.
I said ball busters. That's where we're at.
Yes. Well, let's start with Texas. He was definitely there.
Yep.
And he was in Cincinnati for
Most
sure,
certainly
right?
was. You've knocked out the longest stretches of his career. There's only one other multi-year stop.
Okay, I feel like he was in Detroit at the start,
You
correct?
know what's so funny? I got Detroit, and I'm realizing now that I probably just confused it with Francisco Rodriguez. It is correct. That's where he started in 1999, but I don't think I actually remember that.
How about I give you I know this is the hard one. He finished with Toronto, right?
You know what? He was in Toronto, but technically did not finish with Toronto.
Did not? Interesting.
No, there was one more stop right at the end in 2012. He ended up going somewhere else to make 6 appearances.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I think I have just about exhausted my Francisco Cordero
so
knowledge.
you are missing, for what it's worth, a 2-year stop that included one of his All-Stars.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, 2 years for Francisco Cordero someplace. Was he in Colorado?
Not Colorado, no.
Not in Colorado. And was he in Milwaukee?
That's the one. That's the 2-year stop, which,
Okay.
by the way, 5 for 6 on Francisco Cordero. Every time I'm like, I got a ball buster for you. Patrick's like, the funny thing about that is you're missing 6 games at the end with the Houston Astros in 2012.
Okay.
That's the only other stop. So I guess I don't need to give you a layup, but it was the one I had lined up in the news this week. Someone who is a 2-time All-Star and a World Series champion, and his career will continue in a location where he has already pitched as we go to an active player. 6 teams as well for Lance Lynn.
Lance Lynn. Oh, gosh. St. Louis.
Of course, where he's headed back.
He was in Texas.
Yep.
He was a White Sox.
Sure was.
It's funny because this is not one of my, that's one of those players that sort of slips around and you don't necessarily notice him. Was Lance Lynn was he a Dodger?
He most certainly was a Dodger. He was there this past season. Yep.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
I thought he was a Dodger. Was he a Twin for a little bit?
Yes, of course he was a Twin. You could go 6 for 6.
6 for 6. I don't know if I'm going to get 6 for 6 here on
He was a
Lance Lynn.
trade deadline acquisition in 2018 of this team.
A trade deadline acquisition in 2018 for this team. Was it Toronto?
Oh, no, but so close. He was a Yankee. He was
a Yankee?
That was the other spot for Lance Lynn. All right, what's the schedule look like for you this week, sir?
Well, I'll be at Maryland tonight to see what there is to see there.
Yeah.
They play UMBC. American and Mount St. Mary's with a matinee tomorrow afternoon.
Yep.
4:30. So 4:30 game at Bender Arena, so it should be fun dodging traffic on the way home for that one. And then you look at over the weekend. I think I'll be certainly be at Maryland on Saturday night. They play South Alabama. And Sunday, Morgan State comes up to Towson. Looking forward to getting a look at the Bears for the first time. So that's what's on the docket.
Excellent. At Discourse, of course, is how you follow him. D1Scourse on Twitter. Patrick Stevens, happy Thanksgiving to you, my friend. Let me know if you're up in my neck of the woods this week, and we'll see if we can't get together. Always appreciate you, and we'll talk to you again next Tuesday, all right?
Awesome, Glenn. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, buddy. Patrick Stevens with us here on GCR. I saw the number. The number for Maryland tonight is like 20. I don't love it. How could you? How could you love that number? Look, there is always the possibility that for whatever reason they just, like, in the first half they hit a shot, and then this is the night where they hit some shots, and it's what you think. But my God, how could you like Maryland by anybody?
What's the over/under? That's what I think. I think that might be the play, just because UMBC does push the pace.
They do push the pace. You're right about that. Hang on, I will tell you tonight. The number is 141.5.
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, if the winning team's gonna have to score 70 at least, which I think we all agree.
Yeah. The number is moved to 19. By the way, it's coming down.
People are listening.
Already felt like 20 was too much. Again, if you want to sign up right now, Superbook.com, download the Superbook app, use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. You will receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. So you bet Maryland to cover tonight, and they only win by 14, no problem. No problem. You still get up to $250 depending on what the bet was that you made. If you made a $100 bet, you'll get $100 worth of free bets. If you made a $10 bet, you'll get $10 worth of free bets. And if they win, if you bet Maryland to cover and they win by 50 tonight, which I think is unlikely. That used to be how, man, back in the day, you'll never understand this because you didn't see the era of 4-year college basketball players. But back in the day when, like, players would stick around for 4 years and the scholarship limits were more significant, the disparity in these games.
Really?
Like, if you got a game, if, like, UMBC came to play Maryland and stayed within 18, it was a thriller. It was, you were hanging on the edge of your seat because of that. These used to be one.
It's like when we see the D3 teams play now.
Some of those D3 games aren't even like that.
True.
But I'm telling you, like, Maryland would bring in even a Colgate, somebody like that would win by 50 points. It was just the way the college basketball worked back in the day. But it's a different sport these days, so the number is 19 tonight. And if you bet Maryland, use the code Glenn Clark 23, they cover, you still get all that in free bets. That's the way that it works, win or lose, with Superbook.
I think you might be referencing the first Terps game I think I ever went to was a Colgate game.
Was it when? It couldn't have been when Donald Foyle was playing.
I don't know who was playing. I was like 9 or 10. So
what year would that have been?
It was either 09 or 2010.
Yeah. I'm talking back when Maryland was good. I'm going back to when they were relevant, mattered, all those things. All right, when we come back in, we will preview Waiver-Wire Wednesday. Our guy, Joe Serpico. Still to come this hour, we will talk some Navy football. They got a big game at SMU on Saturday as they try to get bowl eligible, and their linebacker, Will Harbour, will join us as well. That's all on the way. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Come for a game, stay for everything else. Book an unforgettable fall getaway in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouthwatering eats, and endless entertainment. Treat yourself to a staycation in the heart of downtown or try one of the city's many charming neighborhood hotels. And don't miss out on packages for free parking, breakfast, and more. Plan your stay at baltimore.org/hotels.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
What's up, everyone? It's Tyus Bowser, and I've had so much fun hanging out with Rita and putting up with Glenn the last couple years that I've decided to do it again. Season 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show is happening this year, as we'll be all over town, giving you the chance to get to know me and some of my teammates. As we talk football, life in general, and just say what needs to be said. You can find out more about the show by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. If you don't live in the area, you can watch the shows live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you miss one, you can listen Friday nights at 105.7 The Fan. So we'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show, a partnership of PressBox and Great Ace Memorabilia.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, November 21st at Mother's North Grill in Timonium. It's brought to you by Superbook Sports, AJ Michaels, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria. A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Make sure you're tuned in every Tuesday for PressBox fantasy football analyst Joe Serpico to get you ready for your Waiver-Wire Wednesday, brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. And if you have other fantasies you want fulfilled, subscribe to Glenn and Jeremy Kahn's OnlyFans page at... Wait, are people supposed to know about that?
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along in the 11 a.m. hour of the program. Today's show also brought to you today by... Well, this one's brought to you by the print issue of PressBox, which is still available, but only for a few more weeks at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. Print issue of PressBox. Go pick it up today. Great story from Todd Karpovich about position players that were holdovers from the Duquette regime that were still a part of the success of the Orioles this year, plus a lot of Brooks Robinson memories and college basketball content in this print issue of PressBox. It is Tuesday. That means we need to preview Waiver-Wire Wednesday, and quite the Baltimore Ravens sort of tinge to Ravens Wire Wednesday is what we can call it. Waiver-Wire Wednesday. Joining us now, courtesy of our friends at Live Casino and Hotel, he is our buddy Joe Serpico, PressBox fantasy football analyst. Joe, it's Glenn. Happy Thanksgiving, pal. Thanks for taking a couple of minutes for us, as always.
Happy Thanksgiving to you guys as well.
Yeah, we got to get into it, man. So I own Mark Andrews in 2 different leagues. The good news is in one of those leagues, that was our league where I had drafted George Kittle too, just to try to piss everybody off by hogging all the tight ends. And in the other league, I picked up Dalton Kincaid a couple weeks ago, so I'm okay. Like, I've got someone to play, but I guess the question becomes, how hard should we be going for Isaiah Likely? Are you convinced that he's going to get the bulk of the work, or that this will be a bit more split and there won't really be a featured tight end moving forward?
It kind of, good for you, by the way, for lucking out in those 2 situations there. Because most people aren't in that spot. They are probably digging at the bottom of the barrel here. So, yeah, if you're a Mark Andrews owner, Isaiah Likely is somebody you strongly got to consider. I was kind of going through the list of tight ends who I would want above him and not, and it kind of comes to that line between Luke Musgrave and Cade Otton, and then maybe even higher than Tyler Higbee. So let's say tight ends 10 through 15 there. But let's face it, in the fantasy world, that is somebody that's got to be grabbed. So even if you're let's say, because next week there's even more buys, but let's say, you definitely need to get him on your roster if you are in one of those spots where you are fielding, let's say, tight ends, 10 through 15. I think I like Likely's side a little bit more.
So where are you at with, is it worth a flyer? Maybe not a waiver wire, but a flyer on Charlie Kolar if you get to tomorrow and it's 10 a.m. and all the waiver claims have gone through and he's sitting there. Is it worth picking him up?
No, I'm not considering him. Even in your Baltimore-based league, that's not really an option for me. I think, yes, we're going to see obviously an uptick for Isaiah Likely, but I also think we're just going to see a lot more of 3 wide receiver sets. I also think not just your top 3 receivers that we normally talk about. I think even Aguilar is going to get a lot more look than we have seen all season long. The biggest one being, OBJ, probably in Baltimore-based leagues, is not maybe widely available, but he is still available in 60% of most leagues. So that's somebody, if somehow somebody is out there, I would grab him because I do think he's going to take some of that work over the middle that Andrews usually has.
Yeah, I think Griffin brought that up to me today. He was like, yeah, I'm in a league where OBJ is available. I'm like, what is that league? I need to get into that somehow. How is that possible that OBJ is available? But I get it. He wasn't explosive to start the season, so I certainly can understand, particularly as you mentioned around the country, why maybe he's a bit more available. Again, just with there being more footballs to go around, is it worth a flyer on Rashad Bateman if he sticks around on this week?
In the deepest of leagues, yeah, possibly. Again, he hasn't gotten the same amount of run that Odell has. Odell just looks like he's getting back more and more to the player that we were maybe seeing a couple of years ago. The burst just looks like it's coming back to him, and he's just making plays more. Bateman, did have the touchdown this past week, but he just doesn't seem to be, overly used in the offensive game plan. So we know that the tight end is just not going to disappear in the Ravens offense. So I'm going, let's just say, look for other options at receiver before I'm going after Bateman.
All right. Very good as far as the Ravens are concerned. I think that handles that portion of the program. There's a name that I saw on Waiver-Wire Wednesday this week that I frankly, I've been sort of skeptical about that you brought up before. What's going on with Zach Charbonnet, and is he kind of becoming the guy in Seattle?
Yeah, well, especially the case now where Kenneth Walker exited this past week with an oblique injury. We haven't heard what's the extent of it, whether it's going to be a lot of time missed, but he's definitely got to be a priority ad. Kind of like we were talking about the past couple of weeks, the reason why I say to stash these handcuffs is for reasons like this, especially now that we're getting into the latter portion of the season. It could be a case where maybe that Walker, misses the rest of the campaign, and Charbonnet was already getting a lot more run in recent weeks. He was actually getting more and more snaps than Walker as of late. And another note that I kind of figured out was that he's got 60-plus yards in 3 of the past 4 games, and that was with him being a backup primarily. So if he gets the feature role, you can almost hope that he's going to get 100 yards every game, and that's the name of the game in fantasy.
There's no question about that. I mean, that would be magical to pick up a player like that at this point, frankly. That seems almost impossible. Joe Serpico with us, Waiver-Wire Wednesday, brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. Joe, I before I get some of the other guys on your list this week, I just wanted to bring up, if you are a Joe Burrow owner and you're scrambling now, obviously Browning is not going to be, I don't think, the answer for you. What could be out there that could be of help at this point at the quarterback position?
Yeah, so I kind of knew this question was coming, and I kind of had a line of where I would basically cut off of who is fantasy serviceable and who's not. What we've seen from Josh Dobbs as of late, if he's somehow still available, snatch him up, but it doesn't look like, based on what I've seen, he's actually got way more usage than I thought. Jordan Love had a pretty solid game this past weekend. He's looked a lot better in recent weeks. He did have a little, let's say, down month in October, but he has looked a little bit better in the past couple weeks. If Stafford, for some reason, somehow out there, but I mean, those are kind of guys that I think are maybe rostered. So, I kind of draw the line at where Baker Mayfield and Gardner Minshew are, and that's if you're really, really desperate, because I don't really want anything to do with, let's say, Desmond Ridder or Pickett, DTR. Even if when Flacco comes back, I'm not really considering that.
Yeah.
Or Aiden O'Connell. So it's really the worst case scenario for me is probably Gardner Minshew.
What a world! And what a world we're living in, where we could be talking about Gardner Minshew as your fantasy quarterback. That sounds gross. All right, tell me about why I should be thinking about Elijah Moore.
Just because increased usage in the past couple of weeks ever since the trade of Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's getting 7 or more targets in every game this year except for 3. It's just the connection hasn't always been there. Now, we're kind of hoping with, there's kind of the rumor, well, it's not even a rumor anymore. Flacco is going there. It's just a matter of waiting to see when he takes over that job. I do think that's going to help out the passing game a little bit. Obviously, Amari Cooper is still your number 1. I think with the way things are currently, Njoku is probably the best receiving option on that team right now. But Elijah Moore, they also try to get him involved in gadget plays and things of that nature. So I just think there's somebody that they're just going to get the ball a little bit more, and he's just been widely under rostered. So I figured not a whole lot of guys out there that are super exciting at receivers, so I figured he's one I would throw out there.
Hey, it is weak. Go ahead.
We're desperate, guys. We're desperate,
I know.
guys.
That's where we are.
So I am a Joe Burrow owner. I have Sam Howell, but Danny DeVito just tossed 3 touchdowns last week. Is there any legitimacy to Danny DeVito being a possible fantasy asset?
You're going to stick with that? You're going to stick with Danny DeVito?
I don't like Sam Howell either. But
I'd much rather have Sam Howell than Danny DeVito. Let's just put it that way. I think it's only a matter of, I mean, I'm not exactly sure when Tyrod Taylor's coming back, but there is talk that he possibly could. So I would much rather hold on to Howell, who's at least the starting quarterback. And Howell's actually top 5 in passing yards on the year. Now his offensive line stinks. I think that's more what's the situation in Washington.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. I had Tutu Atwell early in the season when Cooper Kupp was down for 4 games. Cooper Kupp got another injury. I know it's not supposed to be that long term, but I guess there's a potential chance of it. Would you?
I think on behalf
be
of all
holding
Puka
off?
Nacua owners, just take his time. Just take his time. Don't rush back. Make sure everything's okay. I want to look out since you're not.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I look out for Cooper Kupp and his health.
Is Tutu Atwell worth a waiver ad, or should I wait and see? Try to wait after waivers.
I would wait till after waivers, but he was somebody I was considering putting on there because of the Kupp injury. We saw he definitely got a lot more looks when Kupp was banged up earlier in the season, and then Nacua was a true number 1. Ever since they've kind of been together, it's been 1 week one, 1 week the other. So yeah, if you're a Nacua owner, you're probably liking this, but. If you're in the super desperation mode, I wouldn't be afraid to, let's say, use Tutu as a flex guy, but I'm not necessarily putting in a waiver claim for him.
You good?
I think so.
Yeah. Ryan wants to know if, based on what you heard from John Harbaugh yesterday, there's any reason to hold on to Mark Andrews. I guess that means it's not a dynasty league, or if we're safe to just go ahead and drop him for whatever waiver claims we're putting in this week.
Yeah, I know they're holding out a little bit of hope, but it sounds like if he does come back, it's more like a postseason kind of thing as opposed to a fantasy playoffs kind of thing. And let's face it, come fantasy playoffs, you need surefire things. So, yeah, I'm probably sending him to the waiver wires, unfortunately. It kind of hurts to do so. I was somebody who traded for Joe Burrow the day before he got hurt, so hit and drop today hurt a little bit, so I feel your pain. But, yeah, Andrews is the guy you got to send to the waiver wire.
Are you thinking about suing the league? Did you not now that you know that he was wearing a wrist brace and he didn't show up in the injury report, are you considering a lawsuit at all, Joe?
No, I will just count my losses and try to figure out from there. I'm still feeling good about my team. And just that was a big stinger.
If I were
I think I could stream the rest of the way.
I would be
hopefully
considering my losses. Can you offer a hug to Devon Achane owners who were very excited only to get 1 yard before he was gone again?
Yeah, so I think I told you guys he was another one that he was part of the Burrow trade. So I fortunately didn't have to start him. I had some other options because I was a little bit worried about him coming back from an injury. And good thing I held true to my gut there because now they said he could have came back in. I'm a little weary of that. I do think the one positive thing was that Jeff Wilson was a healthy scratch. So that does tell you what they think of. Achane, if healthy, that it's going to be his. He's going to get a lot of work there. But yeah, I feel bad for people that started him this week, and then within minutes, that was a kick in the groin.
Yep, it did. It was not great, not fun, is the way that I would describe that feeling. All right, anything else we need to cover for this week, Joe?
Just because I was super desperate for finding you guys waiver options, I threw out a defense this week. Rams defense, just because they have a couple good matchups moving forward, and more importantly, their playoff matchups are great. But that's
waivers,
where we're at.
You're using a waiver claim on the Rams defense?
Waiver claim, no, but I'm offering suggestions for somebody to grab after the fact. Let's put it that way.
All right, I would
trying to help where I can here. When we're super desperate, we're grasping for straws here for any additions. Let's be real.
No doubt, it is very, very bad. All right, at Joe Serp on Twitter, and you can see all of his content throughout the week, including, of course, Waiver-Wire Wednesday at PressBoxOnline.com. And don't forget, there's 4 games before Sunday this week, so make sure you are checking your flex spot and making sure that none of the players in those games, in the Cowboys, Commanders, or Seahawks, 49ers, or I don't even remember who are the Lions playing on
Packers.
Packers, Lions, Packers, and of course Dolphins. Jets. Make sure
Friday,
that all those guys are not in your flex spots on these Thursday, Friday games. All right, brother. Appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk again next Tuesday, all right?
Happy Thanksgiving to you guys as well. Talk to you soon.
That's our guy, Joe Serpico, PressBox Fantasy Football Analyst, joining us here on GCR. It was not a good fantasy week for you, boy. Devon Achane, I texted between Mark Andrews getting hurt and Devon Achane getting hurt. Very difficult for me to overcome in 2 leagues. 2 leagues where I was kind of...
I don't know how. I have the most points scored in a league that I'm 5-6 in.
That's rough.
And I am grasping
rough,
at
man.
the final playoff spot.
That is
right
really
now.
rough.
It is.
Is Justin Jefferson going to play this week, for God's sakes?
I was hopeful. So I was going against somebody who had Jefferson, and I was hopeful, and then I just started all the wrong. I just started the complete wrong guys in every single spot. My bench outscored my my starting lineup.
Not great.
It was
not. Who was on your bench?
I benched Calvin Ridley because I was like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of Calvin Ridley. And,
I had Lawrence on my bench. I played Stroud over Lawrence, which I think was a smart thing to do. But the 18 points would have been a difference for me. I would have won.
I played Deontay Johnson and Tyler Boyd.
Yeah.
And they got me combined 5, I believe.
Yeah. A.J. Brown didn't do anything last night either. It was a weird week in fantasy football. It's what it is. So it is. By the way, speaking of Deontay Johnson, of course, we haven't talked yet about Matt Canada this morning. You know what? Because Joe Serpico was brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel, you just want to remind everybody what's going on at Live Casino and Hotel real quick?
Yes. I did. I was not a loser last night. I had a good parlay of Coach the Unders hits.
Well, you were a loser last night. We have to address that in a second. You were a big loser last night.
I didn't lose any money last night.
You might have lost some dignity.
Purdue and UConn moneyline parlay.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah. But if luck was not on your side,
like if, for example, you took Griffin's advice and you bet the Chiefs last night,
should have won. Marquez
they did. Scantling. I'm not sure if you saw the game. They lost.
Not an NFL receiver.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
If luck wasn't on your side at a recent bet at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, you can get ready to turn those losses into winning opportunities with the Second Chance to Win promotion. Between now and January 4th, 2024, all Live Casino and Hotel Maryland rewards members will be able to enter their losing bet slips into the Second Chance to Win drum, and then 2 nights a week, 20 different winners will be chosen with prizes ranging from Live Casino and Hotel Maryland apparel, sports and social ultimate happy hour, and cash and free play worth up to $500. Drawings will be held every Thursday and Monday only at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. At Rono Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
So, final game relevant for picks this week went down last night. And it was good news for some of us, say, at the top of the table, right? Like, it was good news for your boy, GC. It was good news for John and Little Rock. It was good news for Andrew Stecca. I went 6-3 this week. John and Stecca both went 7-2. So now at the top of the table, John and Little Rock, 59-45. 1 game in front of your old pal. 2 games in front of Stecca, KZ, and Dr. Nick Kelly. Very good news for KZ and Dr. Nick Kelly. Very, very good news for them. They needed that one last night because it salvages for them a 4-5 week. The news not quite as good for 2 particular people on our list. News not quite as good for Kyle Ottenheimer, who's now 5 games back. And not quite as good for Griffin, who is now tied for Scott's stat position. Remember, if Jeremy is the loser, then the vice loser has to go by themselves to a Creed show next summer. And that's vice loser. We would have a tiebreaker, I guess, for vice loser in the Super Bowl if we get to that point. But our pal Griffin Bass, he and Kyle Ottenheimer were both on the Chiefs last night at home. And they were both losers. And they both went 3-6 for the week. And so they were the losers in our side bet. So I am to understand that tomorrow, no Drew Forrester, but we'll somehow make do. Our old pal KO, Kyle Ottenheimer, is going. He's never been in this building, I don't
No,
believe.
he has not.
Have to tell him how to get here. I know he doesn't like he doesn't like leaving the city. Not a fan of leaving the city, Kyle. So he's going to come hang out with us in studio tomorrow?
Correct.
That's the plan?
Yes.
And you and he will both enjoy. So are you going to time it out that like he can stop and pick up? Or
maybe that is. That's an idea. That's an idea. We'll figure it out.
I mean, you'll definitely. I will have to Venmo him. There is.
the $9 for.
There's no doubt.
I guess it might be a little bit more for 2 McFlurries and burgers.
Well, either you get that figured out, you get
Okay.
a burger tonight and a McFlurry in the morning, whatever you got to do in order to take care of it. The two of you work that out, all right? And I can handle Venmoing. I will cover. I don't know why I didn't lose, but I'll cover the costs because America. But you guys work that out, and tomorrow you will both enjoy your Jameson Williams burgers here on the program. That's the plan?
Yes, that is the plan.
All right.
Unfortunately.
I look forward to it. I look forward to it. I think it'll be great. I think it'll be absolutely wonderful. So that'll be tomorrow here on GCR. Right now here on GCR, we had to do this a little bit earlier on because of his very busy schedule. You got the video, right?
Oh, yeah, I guess we can.
Way to go. Dynamite producing is what we call that. I see he's going to play the audio, and I think, aren't we doing a video thing now? Isn't that the idea here? And all of a sudden, Griffin says, oh, right. Yeah. They don't call him the best producer in baseball for nothing. How long do you need me to pad for now? You tell me. Keep padding?
Yeah, keep padding because...
Oh, we didn't even mention Matt Canada was fired. I was trying to get to that with Deontay Johnson. Jesus. Matt Canada was fired. You okay?
The link is not downloaded.
Probably because I deleted it assuming that you had downloaded it.
We definitely have the audio.
No? No, we can fix this.
My apologies.
Yeah, yes, very much your apologies, pal. Very much that. I love you. I need you to know that I love you.
Thanks.
It's just very, very disappointing that we try to do things. We try to make them work. And
you want me to throw out a preview tidbit or something, or just while we're?
I feel bad for everybody. Navy told everybody to tune in at 11:45, and we're going to talk to Will Harbour. But the dirty little secret is we pre-recorded it, and a couple weeks back, we decided that we were going to purposely pre-record videos because we can play the video back now. We don't just have to play the audio back, and that looks better than you just staring at my dumb face while I'm not actually doing an interview. That was something that we worked on and we had a whole conversation about, or at least I thought we did. So that's the problem that we're dealing with here, is that I sent Griffin the video of the conversation that we had, and he just sort of forgot about that whole deal. Maybe because you were still distracted by the McFlurry. Is that what it was, that you were still panicked about that? Steelers fired their offense coordinator, Matt Canada, this morning. Somebody would say, what took them so long? I get it. I just don't. I saw our friend Aditi Kinkabwala from CBS tweet something yesterday about how it didn't work with certain quarterbacks until they were paired with certain coordinators. Maybe. I certainly can't say it's impossible that you could put another coordinator with Kenny Pickett and they could make him a better player, but I'm not betting on it either. I think that Kenny Pickett is very much a part of the problem as well. Not saying that I think that absolves Matt Canada of blame, but I get it. They had to do it. I don't think it's going to make – I'm not suddenly going to be fearful of the Steelers just because they moved on from Matt Canada. All right, as I was saying a minute ago, had to do this a little bit earlier on because of their preparations for the SMU game. But we had the opportunity to catch up with Navy linebacker Will Harbour here on Glenn Clark Radio.
We're joined now here on GCR by a senior captain of the Navy football team. They are coming off a shutout win over East Carolina and getting ready for a big game at SMU on Saturday as they try to get bowl eligible. He is linebacker Will Harbour, and he's with us here on GCR. Will, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Hey, man, it's been amazing to see you guys, this defense, what you guys have been able to put together this season. Can you kind of walk me through, like, I know it seems like a dumb guy question, hey, why is your defense so good? But I'm going to go there first, right? Like, what is it about this unit that you guys have just been so suffocating this season?
Yeah, I think a huge thing is the guys just come to work every single day, and every single day we look to get better, that 1% better every single day, and stack days and really focus on the things, that we aren't the best at in practice. So then when it comes to the game, we're all good to go.
Shutouts don't happen this frequently in college football, right? Like, this is just not something that happens. You've had 3 this season, 2 against, FBS competition. What does it mean for your group to record a shutout? It really is a big deal for you to do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a ton of fun, and I mean, obviously, it means a lot. It shows both that Coach Volker had a great plan and that we executed at a high level. So doing both of those at the same time, it's a great experience. It's fun.
I can only imagine, right? Like, there's got to be a lot of high fives as something like that's going on, right? Will, let me go backwards and then we'll go forwards, right? Your story from Texas. When did you know that, like, the Naval Academy, it's different than I'm sure a lot of your friends who were playing football. When did you know, and why did you know that the Naval Academy was the right spot for you to be?
So I started looking at into the Naval Academy like winter of my junior year. It's where I really started to think about, like, that's where I want to be. And then I came on a visit in July or late June here, and that's when I knew this was the place for me.
Did you know, how much did you know? Was there any Navy in your family? Was there any history there? Like, what was the connection that got you there?
No, there was no connection really at all, honestly.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, just did my research and kind of knew a little bit about the place. Then I came here, visited, talked with the coaches, and I just fell in love with the place.
And the service aspect of it, that was something that you were good with, you were excited about, maybe even?
Yeah, I always wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself and more than just a football player. So getting the opportunity to serve my country is huge.
Wow, that's really, really cool. So I know, did you just get your service assignment?
Yes, sir.
So what'd you get?
I got Navy pilot.
Okay, man, that is. Now wait a second. Okay, we got to ask the question. Does it have anything to do with Top Gun at all? Like, does that?
No.
Okay. Yeah. What was the reason? Why did you want to become a pilot?
I did a training over the summer where I got to fly like a small plane, and I loved it. Everything about it. To learning all the small nitty-gritty details to actually getting in the plane and flying it, and it was just so much fun. So I knew that was what I wanted to do.
So it's about as badass as I can possibly imagine, first of all. Second of all, it means a little more to me. My grandfather was a Navy pilot, and so I think about him a lot in that moment. Do you have a cool Navy pilot nickname already lined up, or is it still something you're working on?
Definitely still something I'm working on. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to have to come up with something, man.
Definitely.
We need a cool call sign, obviously, for you as you move on to Navy pilot. That's amazing. Dude, what's that experience, like the feeling? Like, we're chatting with Will Harbour here on GCR, Navy linebacker, flying a plane, right? Like, what is, dude, obviously playing football is really cool, and you're doing really cool things already. But what is that experience like when you go up there and you do that for the first time? How does that compare to playing football, the thrill of being a pilot?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a small, like, little Cessna, but I mean, it was still so much fun. I got to solo, just fly by myself one time at the end of my training, and it's kind of like a football game. You have the nerves before you take off, and then you take off and you're flying, and then you just kind of like relax and like you really start to enjoy it and like you're having fun.
Dude, I mean, that is so cool. Were you nervous? Like really? Like, did you have anxiety? Okay, I'll compare this, right? I jumped out of a plane for the first time 2 years ago, right? And I'm not someone who deals with anxiety in my life much, right? Like, I'm 40, I've gotten over all that. I have some control. The night before, I couldn't sleep. I had a full-blown panic attack the night before I jumped out of a plane. When you say you're dealing with nerves, is it like, yeah, okay, but I'm Will Harbour, like I'm a badass, I know I've got this, or is it genuine, like, holy F, I'm about to fly a plane?
No, I mean, I think the first time you get in the plane is definitely like a little bit like that, because it's kind of like throw us in there, and we have someone like a teacher next to us, like helping us fly.
Okay.
In the plane at the beginning, so like the first flight, that's how it was. But then we had like 10 flights. So by the 10th flight, when I did it by myself, it was like I know what to do. Like this is gonna be fun.
That's cool, man. That is so cool. All right, SMU this Saturday. It's a big one, obviously, for a couple of reasons. Sir. First being your bowl eligibility, right? Like I know that boy, we could talk about the fact that they don't let the Army game count, and I got a whole thought process there, but I will spare you that. That's for me. I'll handle that later. But for the fact that you guys went through a coaching change and, you know, like a tough start against Notre Dame and the ups and downs of this season, what would it mean to you guys to get this done and get bowl eligible in your first year with a new head coach?
You know, I mean, it would truly be amazing, and it would just show the dedication of this team. You know, like you said, we didn't start off like we wanted to. So it would just show the dedication and the grind that we just continue to show up every day, and that we were ready to keep pushing and fight through, you know, all this adversity. You know, when we could have definitely been like, we're 3-5, or I think that's what we were, 3-5. So, you know, it's not really looking our way, and then just give up, honestly. But the guys have been pushing. So, you know, getting into a bowl game, that would be awesome for us.
Well, then for you personally, right? Like, how much family, how many friends are going to be in attendance for you when you get down to Dallas this weekend? Like, is there an entire Will Harbour section that you're going to have behind you?
Yeah. Like, there totally will be. I think I have like 30 or something people coming. So,
does this?
It'll be fun.
Is there any amount of, like, it's a little personal to you? Is there any amount of, like, you know, hey, you guys could have had me. Look at me now. Is there any amount of that when you make a trip like this?
Yeah, you know, there's a little bit. I mean, yeah. There's definitely a little bit. Like, there's that whenever we played UNT too. Like, just those like North Texas schools. So. There's a little bit, but you can't get your mind like wrapped around that. It's just like a little extra help, motivation.
Yeah, right. No, it's healthy, right? It's obvious. You always need a little chip on your shoulder.
Yeah,
you need something to further motivate you for a big game. That's a lot. Look, you know, the other side of it is obviously that's a really good team you're going up against.
Yes, sir.
Can't hurt to have a little more motivation for a game like this. Will, I mentioned Coach Newberry, right? And obviously someone that you've been getting to know for years. How he has been thrust into this role. How has he, you know, been different, and what has he done that's led to you guys putting together the type of season that you put together this year?
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's done a really good job of pushing us to our limits and pushing guys to be the best that we could be. And I think that's huge. And, you know, even though sometimes, like I said, when we're down and, you know, we didn't get the win we wanted, you know, to watch film, to emphasize, to watch film, see what we did wrong and go out on the practice field and, you know, correct it and get better at those things. So then we can continue to improve and get better. And obviously we've done that. So, just like he's really harped on just continue to better your craft every single day and keep pushing.
It's been impressive to see. There's no question about that. Just another couple of minutes here with Will Harbour, of course, Navy SMU coming up on Saturday down in Dallas. Will, the, of course, $1 million question is, how you feeling about the uniforms for the Army game? They look pretty cool to me, man.
Yeah, I love them, you know. I like the really like midnight blue,
Yeah.
midnight navy. I think it's sick. It's kind of they're awesome. The detail in the helmets are always amazing. I love the radar and the sub on it. They're incredible.
What does it mean to you guys? This is always interesting to me, the community, of course, of Navy athletes, to represent maybe a group within the Navy that doesn't get a whole lot of attention when it comes to those that are serving on submarines, right? Like, I know the term is being used as silent service, and I don't want to pretend like no one knows that there are guys that are serving on submarines, but it is maybe a group that you don't think about quite as much. What does it mean to your team to say, okay, yeah, let's go represent this group this way?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. What they do is huge. They go underwater and stay underwater for months on end. And, what they do, everyone up here should be, forever grateful for, because it's a hard task, not seeing the sun for that long and being a grind. So if anything was to happen in the world, there will be a sub somewhere ready to defend our country.
Dude, I'm so glad that like that means something to you guys. I think it's so cool, the community of you guys, and I don't know, the uniforms are always cool. Like, let's just be flat about that, right? Like every year I'm just like, man, how are they gonna top that? Like, that's the coolest thing ever. And then I see the next one, I'm like, okay, all right, they've done it. It's remarkable. A little painful for us. You're a pretty big Texas Rangers fan, correct?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that one was. I'm imagining it wasn't possible for you to like sneak up for a playoff game when they were in Baltimore, was it? Yeah.
No.
But what does it mean to? This is very difficult for us to talk about, Will, as I'm sure you'd understand. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But what does it mean to you? First ever World Series win, like, were the emotions real for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome watching them win. It was, I always had the game on when I was like doing homework or something, and seeing them just go out there to compete and kick some butt. It was so amazing, to see what they put together.
It's awesome. I say it's awesome. I'm not gonna look. I'm lying. It's not awesome for us. It was very, very difficult because we were so excited about the Orioles, and then it just couldn't have ended in a more painful way. And then, hey, before I let you go, and I also saw this having perused your social media. I got to know Diego really well over the years that he was here. Could you tell me about what he meant to you and what you learned from him? Perhaps one of the more special players in recent memory, Navy football history.
Yeah, I mean, he's like my older brother. I look up to him a lot, and what he did here was amazing. How he came to work every day. I take pride in how he did that and how I can uphold that standard. How just to continuously come to work and push myself and push those around us to be like the best we could be on that field. So,
man, obviously he was in a league of his own when it came to like the intensity and just overall ability. And it's been cool to see you carry that on and you continue to ride. And we can't wait to see the next couple of games, right? Like, cannot wait to see it, man. Will, I know you're on Twitter, of course, at Will Harbour 40. That's with a U in Harbor, at Will Harbour 40. And are you on Instagram by chance?
Yeah, it's just William Harbour.
William Harbour. Give him a follow there as well. Will, first of all, congratulations on everything you've accomplished so far. May it continue with 2 more massive wins to wrap up. 3 more massive wins to wrap up this season. And also, thank you for choosing to serve our country. And we really look forward to seeing what's next for you in your life as well. Appreciate you spending some time with us this morning here on GCR.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it a lot.
That's Will Harbour, the linebacker, senior co-captain of the Navy football team, as they get ready for SMU on Saturday and try to get bowl eligible And not going to be easy. Very good SMU team, but Navy has been playing good football. Defensively, they have been outstanding. As I mentioned, 3 shutouts now on the season, 2 which have come against FBS opponents. Pretty impressive from Navy's defense as they've been leading the way, and they got a great opportunity to get bowl eligible this week, and then the Army game after that. So it could be a very exciting close to the season for Navy football. We are winding down for a Tuesday edition of the program. Tidbit will be brought to you by the Tyus Bowser Show, and I know we said it earlier, but I'm going to say it again. We don't know yet. As soon as I know, I'll tell you. I know a lot of guys snuck away this weekend, and we're off, doing family things and taking advantage of a couple days away from the team. So I will let you know as soon as I know who will be joining Tyus. We'll tell you on social media. We will tell you as soon as we know who the guest will be for tonight. But come on, man. It's Thanksgiving week. You got some friends in town. Just make your plans and come join us tonight at Mother's North Grill in Timonium for the Tyus Bowser Show, a partnership of PressBox and Grade 8's Memorabilia, brought to you by Superbook Sports, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, and AJ Michaels. What you got?
Deron Bland, didn't mention it yesterday, but Deron Bland got another pick 6 yesterday.
4 right on the season?
4 on the season. He became the 4th player with 4 pick 6s in one season. Do you have any idea who the other 3 are with 4 pick 6s?
No, but I don't know. Dion.
No.
Ed Reed.
No. Yeah, it's not the usual
good
culprits.
Oh,
it's
good.
It is. There's a Hall of Famer.
Bailey.
No.
Daryl Green.
They did it in the years 1971, 72, and 93. I'll give them to you.
No, well, hang on a second.
I don't think.
Well, you're saying they're Hall of Famers, though?
One of them, only the one who did it in 1971, went on to become a Hall of Famer.
All right, I don't know.
Ken Houston is the Hall of Famer.
Didn't he just get into the Hall of Fame too recently?
Is it really? Is that?
Like it was weird.
Jim Kearney in 1972, and then in 1993, Eagles cornerback Eric Allen.
Oh, okay.
Yes, there you go.
Allen's
That is the list that Deron Bland joins in his 2nd season with the Cowboys.
Ken Houston got into the Hall of Fame in. Why does it not tell me? I'll tell you.
It's in the Hall of Fame.
Why?
Who cares when?
We know that, but I would like to know what year. Why does that? What is the point of Wikipedia? Like you can't find that. Like, it seems like a pretty significant moment. 1986. I was totally wrong. He's been in the Pro Football Hall. Who got in recently, though, then? That was somebody from that era. All right, whatever. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The Maui Invitational,
yes.
of course, this is the 3rd MTE ever, the multiple team events, 3rd MTE ever with 4 top 10 teams into the semifinals.
Sure.
There are
chance. Don't.
There are 2 others.
Yeah, stop. What are we doing?
The 1958 Dixie Classic.
The old Dixie Classic, which, of course, was named after your future ex-wife,
Right.
Dixie D'Amelio.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. It was named in 1958. It was named after. Yeah. And then in 1957, the Kentucky Invitational.
Of course.
Can you name any of the teams in any of the...
UCLA.
No. Well, no, sorry.
Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky was in the Kentucky Invitational.
What
they were ranked 5th at the time.
Kansas.
Kansas was not in either
Indiana.
of these. No.
Louisville.
No, it doesn't. You want to keep guessing?
No, go ahead.
North Carolina was actually in both of them in 57 and 58. So was NC State was in the Dixie Classic along with Michigan State and Cincinnati.
Oh, I just found out the guest for tonight.
Oh, do you want to share it or do we want to? Keenan Allen. Did you see the video that the Chargers put together? They just dropped a 2.5 hour long video. They were like, because Keenan Allen surpassed 10,000 career receiving yards last weekend, and they were like, F it. All 10,000 yards of Keenan Allen's career.
Okay, that's
and they posted a 2.5 hour video on Twitter.
Love that,
I think it might have even been longer, actually. I don't know, but they posted every single catch in receiving yard of his career.
Genuinely love that.
Yes, it was very good. Well, he had 8 catches in their loss on Sunday. He became the 5th player to have 50 games of 8 catches in a game.
5th player
with
have
8 catches to have 8 catches in 50 games.
50 games with 8 catches.
Correct.
Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice is, of course, on the list. He's tied with Jerry Rice with 50 exactly.
Boy, like Wes Welker could be on that list.
Wes Welker is in the top. He's not in the top 5, but he is in the top 8 with 44 such games. Do you want to expand it out to
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't. But I was on. I'm glad that I was on the right track,
Yes.
thinking that Larry Fitzgerald.
Larry Fitzgerald is number 1 on this list.
Really?
57 games with 8+ catches.
Julio Jones.
Julio Jones is once again just outside. He's 1 behind Wes Welker. Of course, still active, so maybe he'll catch Wes.
That is true. They were throwing a lot underneath to him last night.
43 such games for Julio.
Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison is number 2 on the list. 51 games for Marvin Harrison. Missing.
You said how many guys? There are 5 guys. So
5.
I'm missing 2 more.
Missing 1 more.
One
You
more,
have
'cause I
you
got right.
Yeah, you got Keenan Allen.
Steve Smith.
Not Steve Smith. Where's Steve Smith at? 33 for Steve Smith.
Reggie Wayne.
Not Reggie Wayne. Reggie Wayne had 35.
Anquan Bolden.
Anquan Bolden is just outside. He is at 6th on the 7th on the list.
Isaac Bruce.
45. No Isaac Bruce.
Torrey Holt.
No Torrey Holtz. Torrey Holt had 32. Isaac Bruce is a little further down.
Andre Johnson.
50. Exactly 50 as well. Tied with Keenan Allen and Jerry Rice. So there's your top 5. Number 6 was Antonio Brown. Yeah.
God. All right, I'm glad you cut it off there. Don't ever. I'm good with never recognizing him whatsoever. All right, very good. That's tidbit tubular. Should I say?
I mean, I don't know. I guess you're going to tweet it out eventually, so.
Yeah, I mean. All right.
I know you'll tell me in 2 seconds.
It's
so I
one
guess
of our
I'm wrong.
favorites. He's been a regular with us over the years. Love this guy. Very committed to charity that I care about a great deal. Pat Ricard. Project Pancake Pineapple Pat will be the guest. He was never okay with pineapple.
Why what was pineapple?
Because he supports pineapple on pizza like a good American should.
Yeah, that one.
No, that's he should be quite proud of himself.
Good for him not going with that nickname.
Well, I mean, he wasn't opposed to it. It was more like, let me wait a second before we put that out there. But Pat Ricard will be
his Twitter was great when Patrick Queen and who was going?
Oh,
who
Jermaine Pratt, right?
Yeah.
Was that who it was?
Yeah.
God, what a...
And he just replies with a picture of him.
Right? Like, what an absolutely... Jermaine Pratt's insane. Like, Jermaine Pratt is, like, your idiot friend. Yeah, well, but if Burrow hadn't gotten it, like, what the F, dude?
And he knows that Queen and Burrow were they were yeah.
Like, this is guy.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
And
he loves
LSU,
Joe
like-
Burrow. But, like, dude, what is that? Weird bit, man. Yeah, well, I mean, like, God, Jermaine Pratt, dude, like, get a hold of yourself, buddy. Somebody working with him has just got to be like, bro, just stay off Twitter. Like, you're going to be okay. It's worked well for everybody else that's made that decision. They just stayed off Twitter, and it's been a good thing for them. But, yeah, Pat Ricard will join us tonight for the Tyus Bowser Show at Mother's North Grill in Timonium. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be an awful lot of fun. All right, Tubular is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Of course, the Tyus Bowser Show with Pat Ricard, 7 o'clock, facebook.com/PressBoxSports, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline. UMBC Maryland at 7 o'clock on Big Ten Network. Who knows, man?
Big one.
Could be a meaningful night for UMBC folks. Could be. Getting ready to get underway in a few minutes on Flow Hoops. Morgan State plays Radford in the Cancun Challenge. That's at 12:30. The big games in the Maui Invitational coming up tonight. The semifinals on ESPN. Tennessee, Purdue at 8 o'clock. Kansas and Marquette at 10:30. Two really good games tonight in the Maui Invitational. And before that, the College Football Playoff Top 25 unveiling. All the rest of the hoops find at glennclarkradio.com. Syracuse Gonzaga at 2:30 in the consolation bracket on ESPN2. Maction tonight, Eastern Michigan, Buffalo, 7:30 on ESPN2. ESPNU has Bowling Green, Western Michigan at 7. TNT, Cavs, Sixers at 7:30. Jazz, Lakers at 10. USA for WWE, NXT at 8. Some non-sports highlights?
There is on Hulu. There's a show called Obituary, where there's a girl who she writes for a newspaper, and then they can't pay her anymore, so she ends up writing obituaries, but she only gets paid per obituary. So
she
ends
kills
up,
people?
Yeah, so
Jesus.
so she ends up killing people.
Aye.
So she can write obituaries.
Aye.
That's on Hulu. The animated movie Leo with Adam Sandler and Bill Burr and company.
Can't win.
Yeah.
Can't
Did you see
win.
the preview for it?
I did.
Does not look good.
I'm good.
Jordan Sparks is going to be on Whose Line Is It Anyway on the CW.
You're very excited about Jordan Sparks.
I don't know.
Tell me how I'm supposed to breathe with no air. She's on what?
Whose Line Is It Anyway?
What is that?
You don't know what Whose Line Is It Anyway?
No, I know what Whose
okay.
Line, but why is Jordan Sparks?
I don't know. That's why
American
thought it was
Idol
notable.
winner Jordan Sparks on Whose Line Is It Anyway?
It'd be interesting. Also, season 5 of Fargo on FX.
I was in Arizona at the time. So Jordan Sparks is from Arizona. Her father Felipe played at Arizona State and played in the NFL. And so like they wanted us to like cover Jordan Sparks on American Idol like it was a local team winning a championship. Like our bosses were like, "Dude, what are you guys doing to talk about Jordan?" I'm like, "We do a show for 25 to 54-year-old men. Nothing. We're not talking about, dude, you better start covering Jordan. You better start talking about it. It's the biggest story in the Valley." I'm like,
and then you moved back to Maryland because you couldn't
yes,
talk.
yeah. Right. So
it's the biggest story in the Valley.
Dude, we would get hammered by this. I was like, brother, do you what kind of audience do you
Steve
want
Nash
us
was
to
still in the
have?
Suns, right? Like
we weren't even doing. This isn't when I was doing sports talk. This is when I was doing hot talk.
Gotcha.
But guy talk. Like we were specifically trying to get 25 to 54-year-old men. That was the audience that we were supposed. It's
and you
not
became
true.
a pro at getting
We did-
25-year-olds.
Yeah, we did really good with 18 to 49, which probably makes sense. I was 22 or whatever at the time, so like I didn't really know how much I had in common with 54-year-old men. But oh god, now it's crazy to think that those 54-year-old men might be 80 or whatever they would be at this point. But like that was our job, and our program director, because he came from a music background, our hot talk station was still like overnights and on the weekends would play music. Like our program director was a music guy, and lived in a world where like at the time American Idol was massive, right? Like it was on the heels of Kelly Clarkson and Carrie Underwood, and producing legitimate superstars. And so in his world, this was all that mattered. And it was a big deal to casual people in Arizona, but like our audience, not really the American Idol audience. Not really the folks that were like desperate to know what was going on with Jordan Sparks. And so he kept every
biggest
week,
story in the
dude,
Valley.
every week. Bro, what do you guys, we got to do like an event? We should do like a watch party. I'm like,
a watch party?
Are you out of your ever-loving mind? And remember, it was still, I don't know if I guess American Idol's still probably live these days. I don't know. Nobody's watched the ABC version of American Idol. But on the West Coast, it wasn't live. It was live on the East Coast. So, like, people already knew what had happened by the time it was on the West Coast. And we were given, like, serious instructions. Do not spoil it. I'm not even going to talk about it. Like, we had a meeting, a company meeting.
Made you want to spoil it.
The morning of the finale of American Idol. Like, you will not do spoilers. Okay, guy. We'll try to not do any spoilers. So effing weird, dude. So weird. But good for her. I'm glad she's still finding work.
Yeah, she's
days.
on Whose Line Is It
I did
Anyway?
wonder what Jordan Sparks was up to. She had a massive hit. She probably had a couple, and I can only think of the one. I can only think of No Air as being like
I think that is.
legitimate.
That's the only one I can think of.
Yeah,
too.
right.
Like,
it was a banger. Don't get me wrong. Oh my god, an amazing song.
Season 5 of Fargo, Juno Temple.
That's right. That is tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe John Hamm. I think.
Yep,
was
John
is
Hamm's
in it
definitely
too.
a part
yeah.
of it. Somebody else is too.
I know.
It looks more like I thought the last season of Fargo kind of veered a bit too far away. This one looks like kind of the old school version of Fargo. I actually am kind of excited about that.
I'm trying to figure out who else was in. Anyway, and then on late nights, Tim Allen will be on Fallon. Will Arnett and Melissa McCarthy on Jimmy Kimmel. I know Melissa McCarthy is playing. She's playing a Christmas genie in a movie called Genie. I think it comes out Friday.
Okay.
It actually looks.
Jennifer Jason Leigh. It's basically just Juno Temple and John Hamm.
And then Bradley Cooper will be on Colbert.
Okay, very good, very good. Thanks today to Juno Temple, for those who don't know, Keeley, of course, from Ted Lasso. Thanks today to, got to do the whole list, Will Harbour, Thanks also to Joe Serpico, Patrick Stevens, Wes Brown, and Bill Rhoden. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God. It's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Anything besides the McFlurries?
Stuff and things.
Oh, boy. Okay, good. All right, so tomorrow, Kyle Ottenheimer. Big in-studio guest. We managed to get him. Pretty impressive on our part. And, the McFlurry burgers.
Yeah.
Somehow we'll
those
make
will.
that 2 hours worth of content. Tune in to find out how. Plus, of course, segment number 1 of the Tyus Bowser Show with Pat Ricard. That's coming up tomorrow. Thanks, everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including the Live Casino and Hotel, as well as Mother's North Grill, A.J. Michaels, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Costa Sin, Superbook Sports, Hartford County, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Tuesday evening. We will see you at Mother's North Grill in Timonium. Go Maryland or UMBC. Go Morgan. Duke sucks.